to Ms. Dani Shapiro.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming. It's a special night for me because Devotion is actually not officially on sale until tomorrow, although you can buy it here tonight. But so this is my very first bookstore reading for this book, and it feels auspicious and really wonderful to have it be at Books and Books. And it's also a special night because I have multiple generations of my family here with me, from my son Jacob to my husband Michael to my mother-in-law Bunny. So it's all the more special. Devotion is the story of my search for something to believe. And it's interesting to choose passages to read from this book because the book is structured almost like a puzzle or a list. There are 102 pieces of it. And there are different strains that run throughout it that begin and then pick up again, and then it's almost as if like casting lines in fishing, or creating these arcs where they all come together again at the end. But there are many different elements of it, as there are many different elements that really played into what made me want to embark on this journey and on this book to begin with. And one of them was the Carl Jung quote that was just referenced. The fuller version of the quote is Jung was writing about midlife, which, by the way, he defines as age 35 and up. And what he wrote was, thoroughly unprepared we take the step into the afternoon of life. And when I read that, it just it made the hair on my arm stand up. It felt like that's where I was, and I didn't know how to take that next step. And Jung went on to say that what worked for us, and now I'm paraphrasing, but what worked for us in life's morning was of little use in the afternoon, and would by evening have become a lie. And I just found that really chilling and very resonant. I was there. I had lost my father young. I had recently lost my mother. We had had a scary time with our son when he was an infant. And all of this was in light of my having been raised in a very religious home and having abandoned all that at the earliest opportunity but not replaced it with anything. And suddenly I began to feel like all or nothing hadn't worked for me. I mean, everything, the sort of having to adhere to this very strict way of life hadn't worked for me, but nothing wasn't working either. And so trying to find a place where there was more meaning and something really genuine in our lives that we could, or that I could hold on to and kind of pull my family along with me. So I'm going to read a few different passages and give you a bit of a sense of the book. A woman named Sandra was cradling my head in her hands. We were in a small room, just the two of us, and it was so quiet I could hear the ticking of her watch. The air smelled faintly of eucalyptus. A high window overlooked the parking lot, and beyond the parking lot, mountains. I tried to relax, that was the point, wasn't it? But I wasn't relaxed at all. I had signed up for something called master level energy work, thinking it would be like a massage. But this was no massage. For one thing, she was sighing a lot. After some moments, she spoke. I see some sort of teacher. Do you have a teacher in your life? Yes. A few people came to mind. A man in his 70s who had a shock of white hair and wore baggy pants. Another man, younger, with a closely trimmed dark beard. A tiny gray-haired woman, also in her 70s. Do they assume a form? How do they appear to you? I hadn't realized talking would be involved. Had I known, I never would have made the appointment. I wanted to lie still and be silent. It was peace I was after. I had been waking up in a cold sweat nearly every night, my heart pounding. I paced my house, worried about everything. Your teachers? Sandra prodded. Well, sometimes we have coffee, I said, or we exchange email. But what do the forms look like? Do you see a light? Do they seem spectral? Ah, she meant otherworldly teachers. Beneath my closed lids, I rolled my eyes. This wasn't going to work for me, this talk of spirits. I started wondering how long I had been lying there and how much longer this process was going to take. Would she be insulted if I got up and left? I was twitchy, impatient. Disappointed, too. It was rare that I allowed myself such a self-indulgent, not to mention expensive, hour. She sighed again, a bit more loudly. Are you feeling pushed, she asked, like someone's pushing you from behind? That precise feeling had been plaguing me for as long as I could remember. Yes, I said, exactly. I was always racing. I couldn't settle down. I was settled down. I was happily married and the mother of an 8-year-old boy. But I often felt a sense of tremendous urgency, as if there was a whip at my back. I was fleeing something, but what? Her hands on my neck began to tremble. It's your father, she said. Your father is pushing you. Had I told her about my father? No. I thought about what she might have gleaned from looking at me. Blonde woman, mid-40s, wedding band, tank watch, yoga clothes, a necklace dangling with 2 charms, M and J. How could she have known that my father was dead? Did I have a tell, like a poker player? Was your father a religious man, a man of faith? She said it as if she already knew the answer and was only waiting for my confirmation. I was suddenly very alert. Yes, he was very religious. And you have a young son? I do. She had a 50-50 shot of getting that right. The charm necklace was a giveaway, that I probably had at least one child. I relaxed a little. The trembling in Sandra's hands grew more pronounced. Your father apologizes. He's a very gentle spirit. A stillness settled over me, gauzy and soft. I wasn't frightened, not exactly. Sandra's fingers were hot against my neck. I pictured my father, his sweet, round face, his kind, hazel green eyes behind rimless glasses, his easy smile. Hiya, darling. I could summon his voice, always a bit louder than he meant it to be, as surely as if I had just heard it yesterday. How's my girl? Your father's trying to help you, Sandra said. That's why you feel pushed. He wants to share with you what he believes. He didn't get a chance to... She broke off, another heaving sigh. Is there anything you want to say to your father? I tried to remember what Sandra looked like. Around 60, reddish hair, a weathered face. Ordinary, like she might be standing in front of me on line at the supermarket rather than behind me, her hands on my skull. What was happening between us defied everything I believed, but I had entered a place beyond belief. I was here now, on the other side of logic, in a place that felt true, if not quite real. That I miss him, I said. My own voice sounded strange and far away. I was weightless, tumbling. Tears began to leak from the corners of my eyes. They soaked my hairline, but I didn't move an inch. Even if my father wasn't in the room, it was the closest I had been to him in 20 years. He died when I was young, and everything I am, everything I've become since that day is because of him, because I had to make his death mean something. Sandra moved her hand slightly to the left. He acknowledges that, she said. She rocked my head from side to side. Your father's asking if you want him to stay. Yes, I was weeping now. My father didn't live long enough to know my husband or my son. It was my greatest sorrow. Yes, I want him to stay.